to another episode of Moandain Designs. I'm your host Moandain. This video is part of my favorites series, and today we're going to be talking about my favorite driving games. The driving game genre has existed with video games and home consoles almost since the conception of video games. It's just one of the oldest genres out there. Today I'm just going to be going over some of my favorites. They're not presented in any particular order, but these are ones that I would highly suggest for anyone to own. Some of them might be a little bit more expensive than others, but I don't see them being so far out of reach that people will consider them unreasonably priced. Spy Hunter was one of the big classics, and when it was re-released on the PS2 on September 24th of 2001 by Midway, they really upped their game. It was behind the car driving instead of top down. Everything just flowed really well. It had really good music. Everything about the game made you excited to play it and excited to beat it. I felt like that my personal skill set grew as I played the game, and that I became better as the game challenged me more. At the end of the game, with all of the music pumping and all of the explosions and everything, you really feel like you are the best of the best, and they give you that feeling that you feel great walking away from the game after you've beaten it. It's just a very high quality game. PlayStation 2 games right now, as I'm recording this, are not exactly that expensive, and it's just a great game to have, and I've never regretted owning it. Top Gear Pocket 2 on the Game Boy Color was released January 30th in 2000 by, who is this? By VisionWorks. Yeah, sorry guys, couldn't really read my note that well. It's another just little pick up and drop down game. No real storyline with it or anything like that, but it was a lot of fun. It controlled the way I wanted it to control. It fit inside of a Game Boy Color, which was kind of a big thing for me at the time. I remember playing this game a lot when I was in college, and it's just a lot of fun. It's definitely worth looking into. I know that Game Boy Color games are starting to become a little bit more harder to find, but it's not that big of a deal. Final Lap Twin for the TurboGrafx 16 was released in 1990 by Namco. This was mainly a pack-in game with most TurboGrafx 16s. I really liked this game. I liked the, just race mode where you played the F1 cars, and you got to run around and hitting the brakes at just the right time of the turns and things like that. On the other side, though, on the dirt map part of the game, you got to play this really fun kind of RPG style racing game where you ran around and bought parts and raced people for money, and it was actually a lot of fun. It's a little bit on the difficult side to beat, but I enjoyed it the whole way through, and it's a really interesting game, and it should be exceedingly cheap since it was a pack-in game with the TurboGrafx. Extreme G Racing XG3 was released on the GameCube by Acclaim Entertainment on August 21st in 2001. This was another one of the games where you just felt like you were above the average person, like you were that expert racer that was, driving the bike and stuff, and it was just a lot of fun. And there's a little bit of combat in there as well, or a lot depending on your play style. But the thing that I remember the most about this game is if you would hit one of the track areas where you sped up, and then you hit your turbo right afterwards, you would actually hit an excess speed to the point where technically you were supposed to break the sound barrier, and when you did that, the music in the game would fade away. I thought that was a really good and innovative way to up the excitement of the game and to make it where you knew that you were going faster than the speed of sound. GameCube games are becoming a little bit harder to come by. A lot of people are picking them up because it's one of the safer genres of, or one of the safer consoles to pick up for, because you can't really create fake GameCube games. And people feel a little bit safer with that. The next game is FZero GX, also in the GameCube, released July 21st in 2003, mainly done by Sega. This was kind of an interesting story where people make fun of Nintendo for not being able to get F-Zero right after they released it on the Super Nintendo, that the Nintendo 64 version wasn't that good and all this other stuff, and that Nintendo had to hand it off to Sega for them to save the series. I don't see that as necessarily true, but there's a lot of people that like to make fun of Nintendo for that. However, this is a great game. It's a lot of fun. I wouldn't say that it gives as much excitement as Extreme G did. However, it does deliver a little bit more on the nostalgia side than all of these other games. Everyone who played Super Nintendo most likely played the original F-Zero. And the one on the GameCube is just really good, and it's well done, and it looks like it's just this long love letter to the original game, and it's really worth having, and with GameCube games, there is that security that you're not purchasing a fake. The next game is Mario Kart series, and I know that I'm covering a whole series, but Mario Kart I've always been in love with. It's a little bit campy, and doing the turbo starts and having the combat in there as well. For me, it's just a lot of nostalgia of like being there on the couch with my friends playing this game, and it just gives me a lot of good memories. It was first released on August 21st, I believe, 1992 by Nintendo and Namco and Bandai. It's just a good series. Any of them are really good. There are some that are better than others. And unfortunately, Super Nintendo and 3DS and DS games are a little bit easier to fake these days. So I do have to say, buyer beware. Make sure that you're buying from a reputable seller. It is definitely worth your time. I would highly suggest starting at the beginning and just playing the original Mario Kart on the Super Nintendo with a friend or two around, and just, whoever loses gets out and the winner goes on and the next person plays. I mean, it's just a really, really fun series to play, and it's definitely worth your time and your effort. The last one I'm going to go over is Rad Racer 2. It was released on the Nintendo 1990 by by Squaresoft. Squaresoft didn't originally start off doing a lot of RPGs. They did pretty much everything back in the day. So, again, they never slacked on quality, and they did the first Rad Racer, which I enjoyed, but honestly, I enjoyed Rad Racer 2 a lot more. I liked the music a lot more. I liked the way the controls were, how everything was very tight, and it was just a great game. Rad Racer 2 is relatively cheap. Although, you know, people might complain with me making this video that the price might rise, but, you know, in my mind, I think I paid like $30 for it, which was way higher than what the average price should be, but it was one that was in really good shape, and I was exceedingly happy to have the game. And the guy even overnighted the game to me because I paid such a high price. But you know, those are all of the racing games. They're some of my favorites. I'm pretty sure I've probably forgotten some of them. You know, and it's bound to happen. I own more than enough video games to be able to forget a few names. Well, that's it for this episode of Moandain Designs. I'm your host, Moandain, and I hope you enjoyed this episode as much as I enjoyed making it. If you like what you see, you can support me and my channel on Patreon by clicking one of the links below. As always, please like, comment, and subscribe. Have a wonderful day.